Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Surprise, I'm here. If you don't know me, my name is John, and I've had the pleasure of being here for the past year and a half, playing the piano for you folks while you sing. And this particular Sunday has given me the opportunity to revert to my old profession, which is that of a music teacher. So I'm the teacher, and you are the students. Yes, lots of people, including Jennifer, have issued the invitation to join the choir, and some people have responded to that, and now you all are shanghaied onto that particular job. The third hymn we're going to sing today, Sing to the Power of the Faith Within, is a great hymn. You may be familiar with it, however, you may not be familiar with the fact that it actually has two parts to it. So what I would like to do is teach you both the parts, so that when you get to it, you know what to do, and you're not fumbling through your hymnals or saying, what the heck is going on? Does that make sense? The choir will help me. So the first part, the words are, now let us sing. Ready? Listen up. We'll do it twice. We'll sing it once. You sing it back. Ready? 2. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the faith within. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the faith within. The second part goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sing to the power of the faith within. Sing to the power of the faith within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Sing to the power of the
I just used a few minutes live and I guess I did it wrong. What?
The congregation is laughing when we turn the words.
Sing to the power of the faith within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Sing to the power of the faith within. Now, when we get to this in the service, you know what to do, right? The best part is, we'll sing the bottom part first, and then put them together. Now here's the cool part. When we get to the part where we sing them together, in true Reverend Sue fashion, sing whichever part speaks to you. Does that make sense? And it'll be great fun, and it may be complicated. We'll figure it out. I'm looking forward to hearing you all sing. Let's begin.
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Fort Myers. Our mission is inspired by love. We transform ourselves and serve others. At UUCFM, we seek to foster a climate of purposeful inclusion and safety of all people, regardless of race, ethnicity, age, ability, sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, spiritual path, or national origin. My name is Leslie Gatto, and I choose to serve this congregation as a worship associate, which is what I'm doing right now. We are so glad you are with us today, in person or online. If you are a guest or feeling new to the congregation, you are invited to complete a connection card found in the chat box online or at the welcome table. It looks like this. Please join us following the service in Hobart Hall to the right as you leave the sanctuary. We would love to get to know all of you. It's so good to see so many familiar faces back in our pews this morning, so welcome everyone. As a reminder, Game day this Saturday has been canceled. November is American Indian and Alaskan Native Heritage Month. Lee County and our beautiful campus sit on the land originally occupied by the Tolosa tribe. We honor them as well as the Mississippi and Seminole, who continue to care for South Florida lands. Please keep your microphone muted and refrain from sending chat messages unless invited to do so. And now, let us begin our service.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Our call to worship words are the poem by Elie Dickinson entitled, "Hope is the Thing with Feathers." Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in our soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest
Why don't they move the camera?
Yet,
Thank you.
in extremity, it asked a crumb of me. Please rise in body or spirit as we join together in lighting our chalice.
Our chalice lighting today is by Melanie Davis. If ever there was a time for a candle in the darkness, this would be it. Using a spark of hope, we kindle the flame of love, ignite the flame of peace, and feed the light of justice. Please join me for the covenant. Love is the spirit of this congregation, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And our opening hymn this morning is number 121, We'll Build a Land, which is also on the screens.
Promise
surprising, isn't it? I wasn't sure I was going to make it through that song. What a privilege it is to be able to be in a community that sings those words. I have a children's book, and there are some kids, but I think that they've already hidden themselves away. And that's okay. That's perfectly fine. Wherever and however we are in this moment is exactly right. But I will still read the story, because sometimes it's important to just remember the simple wisdom that we learn from children's literature. This book is entitled Hope. When days are hard and long, I hope that you are strong. When choices seem so tough, I hope you're wise enough. When times are glum and dark, I hope you find your spark. And even though you're stressed, I hope that you feel blessed. When sadness comes your way, I hope that joy will stay. When loneliness is real, I hope it's love you feel. And when you are afraid, I hope that you have prayed. When others fall behind, I hope that you are kind. And when helping friends in need, I hope that you're brave and lead. When trouble's all around, I hope beauty can be found. And when you go outside, I hope wonder is your guide. When work becomes a trial, I hope that you can smile. And when waiting for your chance, I hope you get to dance. When passion comes to you, I hope your dreams come true. And when life is crazy wild, I hope for peace, my child. Maybe that's all the words we need today. You can read that to them later.
The following meditation will begin and end with the sound of a mindfulness bell. It's called a survival meditation. Breathing in, I am aware of my pain. Breathing out, I am aware that I am not my pain. Breathing in, I am aware of my past. Breathing out, I am aware that I am not my past. Breathing in, I am aware of my anger. Breathing out, I am aware that I am not my anger. Breathing in, I am aware of my despair. Breathing out, I am aware that I am not my despair. Breathing in, I am aware of peace. Breathing out, I am aware that I am worthy of peace. Breathing in, I am aware of love. Breathing out, I am aware that I am worthy of love. Breathing in, I am aware of joy. Breathing out, I am aware that I am an agent of joy. Breathing in, I am aware of hope. Breathing out, I am aware that I am an agent of hope. Breathing in, I am aware.
Please join with me in our responsive reading. It's number 666 in your gray hymnal. Despair is my private pain, born from what I have failed to say, failed to do, failed to overcome.
Be still, my inner self. Let me rise to you. Let me reach down into your pain and soothe you.
I turn to you to renew my life. I turn to the world, the streets of the city, the worn tapestries of brokerage firms.
Drug dealers, private estates, personal things in the bag lady's cart.
Rage and pain in the faces that turn from me, afraid of their own inner worlds.
This common world I love anew, as the lifeblood of generations who refuse to surrender their humanity in an inhumane world courses through my veins.
From within this world, my despair is transformed to hope.
And I begin anew the legacy of caring. If you picked up a stone as you came in this morning, I invite you to hold it close to your heart. Infuse the stone with your intentions, joys, or sorrows, and imagine it joining with others as you place it in the bowl of sand. There are also stones available in the bowls in the front. Online, you may place a virtual stone of intention by following the link in the chat box. During the music meditation, you may place your joys and sorrows in the chat box. I will place the first stone in recognition of all the veterans in our midst, whether they're here or in our congregation or all around us. We owe them.
I place the last stone this morning for all that we're holding in our hearts. Let us be mindful of the power of love and of community to heal and to uphold life. Blessed be and amen. Let us join our hearts in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Spirit of hope, in the quiet of our hearts, we welcome hope. That gentle bird that sings us through the trials and the triumphs. Just as it perches in the soul, may we embrace its presence, reminding us of resilience and of joy. Let us be open to the song, even in the darkest times, for hope lifts up, carries us, whispers that we are never alone. May we find strength in its wings, soaring above despair and uncertainty. As we navigate life's storms, help us to nurture hope in ourselves and each other, creating a sanctuary where dreams take flight. May we always listen for that sweet melody, trusting that hope will guide us toward a brighter tomorrow. In this shared journey, let our hearts be filled with the promise of what can be, and may we inspire each other to keep the flame of hope alive. Blessed be and amen. We will sing together reflectively. You can remain in your seats. Number 389, Gathered Here. We'll just sing it straight through 2 times. In these last few days, so many of you have found your way to me in some way or another to talk. Many expressing, one way or another, feelings of hopelessness. Hopelessness with the government, in relationships, hopelessness in God, in the world. And yet others of you are ready. You're ready to jump in and get the work done. Let me tell you, we are all over the place. I know some of you are on Zoom instead of being here today because you haven't been able to get out of bed since Wednesday morning. Others of you have already called and started to organize for what comes next. I have reminded each and every one of you whom I have had the privilege of talking with that this week is not unlike grief. It's not linear. Your feelings are surprising. They may go from extreme rage to despair and everywhere in between. It's the same with me and my colleagues online and social media. There is no straight line. So I began to think a lot about why some people find it very easy to be hopeful, almost becoming like a way of being for them. Things don't faze them. Others struggle to hold on to brief glimpses of hope in the wake of despair that is so profound, it's debilitating. And yet still others of us ride this ocean of ups and downs, hope exploding at the crest of a breaking wave and almost as quickly being sucked out to sea like the receding tide. How do we maintain hope in the light of what we experience in the world? What sustains our hope? Why do we lose it sometimes? I guess I decided at that moment I didn't have any answers for you. So I decided I had to do some research. One time someone called me a cynical optimist. They said, "You are such a cynical optimist." Okay. Because I guess I would often express my immense cynicism laid next to an endless wellspring of optimism. But these are dichotomies, right? These are opposites. But then I figured out that I actually disagreed with the description that I had been labeled. I don't think I'm cynical. I think I'm a realist. And I don't think I am optimistic. I think I am hopeful. And so perhaps a better label for me, one that's less of an oxymoron, is I'm a hopeful realist. I can live with that. But why do these terms matter? Because for me, optimism is very different from hopefulness. So I started to do some more research. There's nothing better than going down the rabbit hole of research when you don't want to think about what's right in front of you. In Cornell West's book, Restoring Hope, which seemed like the right title to explore, he makes a great distinction between hope and optimism. He says it is easy to be optimistic when we have a pretty good idea of how things will turn out and when things are going well. This may have been some of our feelings after Biden left the race and Harris rallied the people. Hope, he suggests, has to do with seeing that things are not going so well and still being willing to actively struggle to change them. This might be where we are in the near future. Hope, he says, requires courage. It sustains us during the really bleak and difficult times in a way that optimism can't. And he reminds us that people who have historically struggled seem to have a deep and profound understanding of hope. I believe that to be true. My experience of living for so long in Latin America, where it is not unusual to have presidents who are corrupt and criminals and real dictators, who witness the destruction and the backsliding of their country. And yet when you meet the people, there is not an absence of hope. So in these days, I turn to the one person in the world who I have personally experienced as the epitome of hopefulness, even in the darkest of circumstances. And so I tried through my memory, sorry, I can't touch my microphone, sorry, Carl. I tried through my memory of my time with him and his books and writings to understand intellectually, emotionally, and especially spiritually the essence of hope. Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who I had the privilege of spending a lot of time with in South Africa in 1993, which was 6 months before the change in government there, in a time of great anticipation, great fear, desperation, and impenetrable hope. I wrote in my journal, he says, hope is quite different from optimism, which is more superficial and liable to become pessimism when the circumstances change. Hope is something much deeper. He says, like I said, he said to the people, I am not an optimist, because that is, in a sense, something that depends on feelings, how you feel, more than the actual reality. We feel optimistic or we feel pessimistic. But now hope is different in that it is not based on something that is ephemeral. It is not feeling. It is the firm ground of conviction. He says, I believe with a steadfast faith that there can never be a situation that is utterly and totally hopeless. Hope is deeper and very, very close, he said, to unshakable. I believe this is our moment to have hope. It is the thing that never stops singing. Hope for the Archbishop is a choice. It's a way of being in the world. It's an affirmation that what challenges we have, or grief or sorrow that arise, will pass. Hope says there is more to life than this moment, this, whatever it is, even if we can't see that right now. He says it requires a leap of faith. It asks us to operate on the assumption that there is more to life than whatever we are experiencing in this moment. Despair can come from deep grief, but it can also be a defense against the risks of bitter disappointment and shattering heartbreak. Resignation and cynicism are easier in some ways. They're more self-soothing postures that don't require us to be raw and vulnerable. The minister starts crying on the first line of the opening hymn. The vulnerability and the tragic risk of staying hopeful. To choose hope is to step firmly forward into the howling wind, bearing one's chest to the elements, knowing that in time the storm will pass. I can give an example to you about peace. One cannot be optimistic about peace, just feel good about it. It's not a goal to be achieved, something that we can measure. Okay, we didn't have peace and now we do. It's a way of life to be lived. Because violence or conflict can erupt in a moment of hatred or rejection, and then we just lose our optimism about peace and become pessimistic about peace. But one can remain hopeful about peace. Peace that is created in a long, year after year, love. Full of all that the world inflicts, but persistent over time, and something that will inevitably prevail. That is what it is to have hope. Frances Moore Lappe, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, and her daughter Anna recognized how important sharing the fact that hope is alive is. They created this great project called Hope's Edge, and they traveled all over the globe to bring stories of success, and they wrote this book, Hope's Edge. They too talk about hope and it not being about results, but rather being about being. I loved what they have to say. She said, hope does not come from convincing ourselves the good news is winning. It did not this week. Nor does it come from assessing what's possible and going for that. That's what Harris did for us. But it's not possible to know in advance what is possible. Hope comes from a place deep within. Hope is not what we find in evidence. Hope is what we become in our action. We become hope because we are here and living in this moment. Well, let's face it, it is easy to lose hope, right? In an instant. We teeter on the edge of despair, many of us having dedicated our lives to the purpose of making this world a better place in every way, right? We have been out there creating peace, fostering love and compassion. After how many years? You have more than me, most of you. The years, the problems, the world, they seem bigger and scarier. It feels like we want to take one step forward, and then how many steps back? But you know what I thought? I don't like that metaphor, because it's not like a few steps forward and more steps back. It's like when you're climbing up a super muddy slope, right? And your feet are slipping out from under you. You slide down, your feet come out from under you, and you hit the ground hard. It hurts. You slide back. It's not a gentle few steps back, more steps forward. It's painful and messy and dirty and muddy. You're at the bottom looking up at the slippery hill as the rain pours down and there's no path. Your strength wanes. What you have lived through, right? World wars, Vietnam, global civil wars, the obscene horror of Holocaust and Nazism, oppression and injustice, countless people who have suffered ignorance and exploitation. There have been tortured and killed victims of racist and repressive regimes. People are starving while we stockpile weapons. We have the means to feed the world, but we can't get out of our own way to do it. The catalog of woe is endless. I'm here to remind myself, and I'm here to remind you that that is not the whole story. It's not the whole story. Because alongside of all of those real things, that's the realest part, right? There have been glorious and triumphant stories of human achievement and betterment that happened at the same time. You know, because we are astutely aware of what has become threatened, it turns out there's no guarantee that our sandcastles will not be washed away. But around the globe, in the past, in the present, and I know in the future, people are creating new solutions. People are motivating each other and coming together in community. People are celebrating the abundance of the earth. There really is growing understanding and education and awareness about the environment. I know it won't be a priority for the next 4 years here in the United States, but it's happening in other places. It won't go away completely. In Costa Rica, you can drive all over the country with an electric vehicle and plug in for free anywhere you want. That's not going away. You can't find a plastic straw or a piece of styrofoam anywhere in the country. That's not going away. We need to remember that there were amazing triumphs in the civil rights movement for women, for children, for the LGBT community, all riddled with disastrous setbacks. But who would have guessed that they would have come to pass in the first place? Who would have guessed that we would have in our lifetime watched the Berlin Wall fall? Watch the letters of the USSR that were on the map disappear into Commonwealth states striving after democracy in free market economies. There have been unbelievable examples of heroism. Gandhi and MLK and Mother Teresa and Romero and Mandela, and behind every single one of them were thousands of people, millions of people, just like each one of you, who spoke out, who got up, who gave a voice to all that had been silenced and did change the world. If there is something that can give us hope, these people are what give it to me. A hopeful realist. I can't help but believe that hope exists. We have been bombarded this week, at least I have been, by every type of action and advice. Feel your feelings, grieve, be angry, listen to music, go for a walk, cope in any way you know how, reach out, eliminate your Facebook page, better yet, quit all apps on your phone, protest the stores, scream, drop out, plug in, get to work, start organizing, rest first, take a nap, plan for the 21st of January, leave the country. All of this is right. All of this is right. I can apply all of that to my crazy mud metaphor, right? Rest, gather strength, wait for the rain to stop, use the tools to make the stairway, get help from friends, use your rope, wait for the mud to dry, change your shoes, use an umbrella. I have also read hundreds of quotes and what are they called, memes? Memes on Facebook and Instagram. All of that is right too. As is often the case, there is no roadmap for what comes next. There's no map. But what I also know is true is that we have been here before. This is not the first time. We have faced disasters of every type before, from the political to the natural, and I'm sorry to say that sadly here in Florida, you have endured more than your share of both types. But nowhere is hope more manifest as when people come together to help one another in the face of traumatic events, right? Now, I'm not talking necessarily about the government or systems, although there actually has been improvements in those as well. I'm talking about humans, you and I, helping one another. There is no end to the stories I could tell about how we lift each other up. We've had 3 hurricanes this month that might be examples of that. So what do? We persist. We persist like we always do because we know how to do it. We get together, we fight, we speak out, we come together when it's the right time. We wake up every morning, as Thoreau wrote, and have the opportunity to start the day anew. The strategies will emerge. We will be ready because we know how to do it. We know how to organize and get together and love each other because we put love in the center. That's what we need to do. To advocate, to provide sanctuary. We put love in the center. But, and right, there's always a big but. In addition to the it's complicated, there's always a big but. Some of us do lose hope that the suffering in our own lives is too much, and in the world we get depressed. We are less than inspired. Of course it's true for all of us. It was true for Desmond Tutu as well. But he looked to his faith for strength. And now sometimes that's a hard word for a Unitarian Universalist, right? Could there possibly be a theological basis for hope, one that even could fit neatly into the Unitarian Universalism theology? That's very complex. Calls upon the goddess and nature and the God within, and nothing really concrete like Christianity. Unless you're Christian, and then it does, and it's pretty complicated. But Archbishop Desmond Tutu found something that he was inspired by, and that was the theology of transfiguration. Right? It enabled hope in his heart. Now, in the tradition of Christianity, it is exemplified many times in the Bible when there is a transfiguration of Jesus and he becomes glowing. It's where the Trinity was born. But there is transfiguration in every part of the world. When we turn to joy, when we receive good news, when a caterpillar, like the ones Marge is raising, transform into a butterfly and fly. I can relate to this theology when something so unlikely as a brown, fire-burned grass turns to brilliant green, or sap, where I come from in New England, runs from the barren trees, awakening in the spring, when winter gives rise to spring. The principle of transfiguration means nothing is hopeless. Bishop Tutu also found his mantra. His mantra was when he realized that often his hopelessness was found when it was his agenda that he was putting forth and a schedule of when he wanted things accomplished. And he realized, no, he realized only in good time. Here's where all those memes and great quotes of wisdom that you've come across might work for you. Find one. Find one. He found it in Paul's letter to the Galatians in the fullness of time, as he realized that what he hoped for would be manifest in the fullness of time, and maybe it was just a lack of patience that was oppressing his hope. If it can happen in South Africa, it can happen everywhere. In the fullness of time, there will be peace in Palestine and Israel. In the fullness of time, we will be free in the fullness of time. No situation can ever be utterly hopeless, or, this may be my own word, untransfigurable. Nothing. Being in the squatter camps of South Africa with Bishop Tutu, walking the path that Stephen Biko did side by side with Bishop Desmond Tutu, I understood this theology, this spiritual hope that comes from the holy, that comes from knowing that the world can be transformed, and that in the fullness of time, love will prevail, and that for those reasons alone, nothing is hopeless. So we start with ourselves. You can start right this minute, today, as you leave the sanctuary by committing yourself to the work that this church, the congregation does with your heart, your mind, your soul, your hands. We will be waiting for you. We will be waiting for you, full of our own hope, that you will invest yourself in the creation and the preservation of hope, whatever that looks like for you. Because hope is not what we find in evidence. It is what we become in action. We become hope because we have the privilege of being alive. Blessed be.
Thank you, Reverend Sue, for your message of hope. Our community sharing partner also shares a message of hope and justice in their work. The sharing partner for November is the Alliance for Fair Food, and they share many of our UU values. These are words from their website. Through decades of tireless organizing by thousands of farm workers, people of faith, students, and consumers of conscience, the campaign for fair food has won 14 legally binding agreements with some of the world's largest food retailers. As a result, tens of thousands of farm workers are experiencing never-before-seen rights on farms from Florida to New Jersey through the award-winning Fair Food Program. The protections afforded to workers under the Fair Food Program include the right to shade and water in the fields, the right to file a complaint without fear of retaliation, the right to work free from sexual harassment and modern slavery, and the first real wage increase for farm workers in over 30 years. Usually, someone from Immokalee would come to our worship service to explain their sharing partner program to us. This year, we are invited to visit the Coalition of Immokalee Workers on November 23rd at 10 o'clock to tour the office, hear from farm workers and advocates, and visit the Modern Day Slavery Museum. Please RSVP to the office if you would like to carpool from UUCFM at 9 o'clock. All loose monies will go to the Alliance for Fair Food. If you would like your offering to go to UUCFM to do our work for our own congregation, please designate that on the offering envelope found at the welcome table. On Zoom, click the link in the chat box and designate UUCFM and or our community sharing partner. If you are a guest, place your connection card in the bag. The morning offering will now be generously given and gratefully received.
Let's find a way to
Please rise in body or spirit as we recite the words of gratitude. By the work of our hands and the work of our hearts,
our love is made real. May we be grateful for all that is given and grateful for all that is shared.
And please remain risen as we extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And now our closing hymn, which we learned earlier today, is number 368. Now let us sing.
Now let us sing, 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 sing. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the faith within. Now let us sing, sing to the power of the faith within. Now let us sing, sing to the power of the faith within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid.
Our closing words are by Elie Wiesel. I have learned 2 lessons in my life. First, there are no sufficient literary, psychological, or historical answers to human tragedy, only moral ones. And second, just as despair can come to one another only from other human beings, hope too can be given to one only by other human beings. Let us go forth into the world and bring hope. Remember, next week is our water service. If you have water you have collected this year, please bring it with you.
And now for our farewell words. You don't have to stand up if you don't want to. Tomorrow is the birthday of one of Unitarian Universalists' most beloved figures, James Luther Adams. He said, "We are not a religious tradition with a creed, but a religious movement that has always wedded social justice work to theology." With his words in our hopeful, loving hearts and minds, let justice roll. Here are a few ways. Now you may need to just rest for a moment, but we are still selling social justice t-shirts. 2, we continue to support the South Fort Myers Food Pantry with a box in the narthex for donations. 3, again this year, we will provide gifts for the Quality Life Center students, and we have 154 of them this year. Please see me following the service for more information. 4, our Freedom to Read library is open every Sunday. 5, don't forget to sign up to visit the Coalition of Immokalee Workers on the 26th. And 6, see the weekly and monthly newsletter for more ways to get involved. It might just give you hope.
And I want to ask anybody who would like to join the fight, to join the Social Justice Committee, please. We need more help. We need more volunteers.
I'm so grateful you all joined us today, either online or here in the sanctuary. After the worship team exits the sanctuary, please greet your neighbor, then join others in Hobart Hall for conversation and refreshments provided by Cups. You know how good they are at providing really good desserts. Be sure to take a yellow mug if you would like to meet others. For those on Zoom, remain online for connection and conversation with each other. We look forward to seeing you all again next Sunday.